All right, we are on day one of your evolved human creature portraits. You'll need a 9x9 square of paper, a pencil, and a pair of scissors. So to make your creature symmetrical, we are going to use a tracing and cutting technique for this project. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my square of paper, fold it in half. Once you have folded it in half, you're going to rotate it so the folded part is on the bottom. The next thing we are going to do is draw along this folded line. Whatever we are drawing here is what we are going to keep. We are then going to cut away the empty space. A quick way to help you get a portrait shape is to think of the following. You're going to start at the bottom left-hand corner, hill, bridge, road, up and away. This helps us to get the head, neck, and shoulders. At this point, once you have drawn those three things, you can add other items to this if you would like your shape to be a little bit more diverse. Maybe you want to try adding some rectangle or triangular items coming away or off of your hill shape. This will just give us more fun edges to play with once we cut this out. Okay, so I'm going to now take my scissors and I'm going to cut along the line I just made, and I'm going to include those shapes I drew above my hill. And you'll see how this is going to give us a very interesting little design for our creature. And then we are also going to use a tracing technique to allow you to transfer your images from one side to the other, because often it is difficult to get something to look the same on both sides. So there is a trick to help us with that. Okay, so once you have cut away, you are now going to have some sort of a shape. We are going to open it up to see the final shape. And this is always a fun, creative moment to kind of look and see what you've ended up with and what inspires you to add to this. I can see maybe I'm going to make some horns here. Interesting shapes here. Could be maybe some sort of something on the face. Obviously, these are the shoulder area. And as I'm designing this, I want to think about some way that the humans could have evolved in the next 100 years based on various environmental issues. So hopefully you've already done some research on that, thinking about what I could add to suggest what this person has evolved into. Is it technology? Maybe I'm going to add different pieces of technology into the portrait of this creature. Has the entire world become very hot? Therefore, maybe I'm going to have this creature, with some sort of protective clothing. Other things could be like, is this a world where there's war? Maybe my creature has some sort of a gas mask or helmet. Lots of different ideas. So once you've spent some time kind of getting an idea about that, we're going to go ahead and add what you need to have, which is the three main features: eyes, nose, and mouth. I'm going to make an X on the left side of my paper. This is the only side I draw on. I do not draw on this side. I will transfer what is here to what is here. So to start with, I always like to start with eyes. I like to kind of go in order. So I am going to create a creature, and I'm going to draw the eyes out from that center line. You can, of course, draw them anywhere on the head, but I do like to have my shapes go in towards my folded line. When we transfer it, it just kind of makes an interesting final shape. Everything you draw on your X side, you're going to need to retrace at least 2 to 3 times so that your line is a little bit extra dark. That will help with your transferring process. So I'm going to think of some other things. Maybe my creature has some sort of a nose. Maybe our oxygen has become depleted in the future because of all the emissions of cars and other pollution into the atmosphere. So maybe in order to get enough oxygen, my evolved human has grown some extra nostrils to allow them to get more oxygen into the body. Again, there's so many different variables as far as what you choose, so just be creative and have fun with it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and continue to draw on that X side. So got 3 nostrils there. I also think what would be kind of fun is that maybe all of our food is processed. So when I draw the mouth, instead of it being like a normal mouth, I'm going to give it some mechanisms that look a little bit more robotic. For example, I'm going to give it some like kind of gears in there because maybe the teeth are no longer there and we now have to grind up our food because it is so processed. Again, just kind of my idea, but think along the lines of what would be interesting for your design. I will do some shading on a later video. For now, just get your basic shapes. And again, consider your eyes, nose, mouth concept. Okay, I have this little interesting shape here. Gonna go ahead and draw along with that. Not sure what this is gonna be, but I'm just creating lines and shapes that I think might be interesting in my final design here. Going along with that, I'm gonna say that maybe it's very hot and the sun is very intense, and so therefore we all have to wear hats. So this little shape I have up here is making me think of a hat. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn that into some sort of a hat. Maybe it has some lines on it, some texture. Okay, get the eye in there. Remember to make your eye interesting, that you not only need the white of the eye, and the iris, which would be the colored area I've drawn. Don't forget to add a pupil. That tends to give it a little more personality. Okay, so I will kind of add a little bit of a shadow here since this is supposed to be a hat. I have this interesting thing here. So let's turn it into some sort of a filtration system. So I'm going to go ahead and draw an oval in that far edge because it looks sort of like cylindrical to me. Like a cylinder for like a tube or something. Maybe this tube goes right up into the eye because it helps us to breathe. Maybe we put some cross hatching on the end of the tube there to make it look like it has some sort of a filtration system. And this would be a good place to add some shading to make this look like it is a cylinder popping out. Okay, and I can of course add more shading later, but just kind of giving myself a little suggestion. So after you have your features, you want to consider what sort of clothing they are wearing and how that is responding to the current environment that our evolved human is possibly in. So looking at what I have here, I'm going to say they're probably in a very tight and fully clothed, like very no skin exposed kind of an outfit, because again, that sun is intense according to my theme. So then I draw, maybe there are some zippers. Maybe there are some pockets. Again, it's only a portrait, so we can only get a small idea of what the whole outfit would look like. Okay, so once you have completely drawn on side X, the very next thing you will do, if you get to that point, is fold your side X over to your side that is not marked. Okay, once you have done this, you are going to take your pencil and you are going to color the back side. Please use a decent amount of pressure, but don't tear your paper. So you just need to make sure you're being firm with your pencil, but if you are being reckless, you'll tear your paper. Okay, you can sort of see where the impressions have come through because I pressed hard on the other side. So I'm going to make sure to color over those areas where I see any white paper that's been pressed in. Okay, and so I would color this whole thing. What I'm going to do now is open and check to see how my transfer is going. Okay, so getting a very interesting little creature here, and I can see it's transferring pretty well. You will get what's called a ghost image here, so you will eventually have to go and retrace your right side to match the left side, but at least you have the nice guide there and you don't have to try and match things on your own. So this would be the last steps of day 1.